Hey guys, welcome back, Maverick here, and today we're going to be watching Steins Gate 0, episode 16. So, last episode, after this emotional reunion, or should I say reunion? Probably not reunion, but this emotional connection with her mom, Suzuha is, I guess, fully charged, and ready to take on, I'm assuming, Kagari, or whatever she needs to do, not really sure what it is yet. I do feel like she has strengthened her resolve, toughened her resolve, and it's probably something to do with Kagari, right? On the other hand, we still have Maho and Daru. They're doubling their efforts on working towards the D-mail, or the, what's the other time machine called? Time leap machine? I think it's. I've almost see they haven't mentioned this in such a long time. I've almost forgotten the time travel elements within this. Since they aren't actively using it, right? We're 16 episodes in, and they're not actively using any time travel devices anymore. Their setting is still there, but they're not actively doing stuff with it. And of course, we got Okabe as well. He probably has some more problems he needs to work out with Mayuri and with Professor Alexis as well. Although judging from, from a meta perspective, considering it's only on episode 16, it might turn for the worse first before it actually becomes better. Let's just say. So, I don't know. Let's just get into the episode and see what's going to go on. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. And I apologize if my voice is a little bit weird right now. I'm not feeling entirely well. They're doing experiments on. I mean, it wasn't actually. Wait, they're making the email, right? They're using a microwave. I mean, and Carissa didn't really make that. It was Okabe. But anyways, let me skip this opening for now. I'll see you guys in a second. And back. Oh, by the way, if you guys prefer me to leave the opening in order to sync up better, do let me know. I normally skip it because there's nothing for me to talk over at that point. So you'd literally be watching me, stare at the screen. Mm. Uh, mm. My Yuri's probably really sad right now. Mm. Look at her eyes getting so big. She thinks it's her fault in a way. Hmm. Uh, that's they look like they're having an affair or something. This is funny. That microwave. That. All right. That was probably an over eager translation there. Banana. They're totally gonna get caught. Ah. Are they actually going to have a confrontation? Ooh. What is she going to do? uh. Ooh. Okay. I'm sorry if I'm being awfully quiet here. It's just, I think this is some good stuff. One thing I am kind of confused by is, in this timeline, Suzuha coming back was that because ooh, and then yet another confrontation. Is this going to be the straw that breaks Okabe? You can't face her. Arc light of the skies? I got no. The triangle. Okay, this is a nice episode. We're finally getting somewhere here. I'm sorry for not talking too much over the dialogue, but I wanted to pay attention to that. I'll see you guys in a second. Alrighty, so let's talk a little bit about this episode, right? And as again, I do apologize that I wasn't talking that much within the episode itself. For one thing, I am feeling kind of under the weather, and for a second, there's really not much to say, right? And in fact, there's not that much to say even here in this review section as well. And it's not because I didn't enjoy the episode. I actually enjoyed it a lot as well. But the thing is, you know, it's basically releasing all the emotions, right? It's releasing all this pent up emotion. It's basically sort of like, you know, the best way I can use to describe this episode is sort of like going to the bathroom after you've been holding it for the past 15 episodes, to use a more vulgar way of describing it, right? So this definitely released some of that pent-up emotions. You know, I internally cheered when Daru finally gave Okabe the punch as well. You know, I mean, sure, Okabe, he has his own troubles as well, right? I'm not saying we shouldn't be sympathetic towards him. I'm just saying that it did, you know, on a pure emotional level, relieve some of the stress that's been building up throughout these 15 episodes, even for me as a viewer, right? So yeah, I did like how things, you know, really developed in this episode, let's just say. And let's talk about some of these, right? So first of all, let's talk about Maho and Okabe and their discussion, their conversation on the roof, especially in regards to predetermination, right? Predeterminism, I mean, which is a topic that I've touched on before, also in the original Steins Gate series. I've actually talked about it at length, and I'm not going to talk about it again here, not because I'm lazy and I don't want to revisit it, but because how you want to approach this predeterminism problem really depends on your assumption on how time travel actually works in Steins Gate Zero, right? So, for those of you who have watched all my videos so far, you should know that I have a big problem with how time travel is actually portrayed here. You know, more specifically, I feel like some of the things that they're doing, such as having only one active timeline and whatnot, and not having multiple active at the same time, really hinders a lot of the things that it's trying to do, and it also affects whether or not there is actually predeterminism within this system as well, within this kind of time system. In this case, it is more linear here, and so if we are using by the strict definition of time travel, as said by Steins Gate so far, then yeah, it is a predetermined system. However, I don't believe that that's the way that this series is actually supposed to be portrayed, right? Again, this is my personal opinion, but that's the conclusion I've reached after thinking about it a lot and thinking of all the different paradoxes and dilemmas and whatnot. So yeah, basically, I just thought it was an interesting conversation, but you know, since we are looking at this from a meta perspective, from a viewer perspective, we already know that this is actually a prequel to the eventual ending of Steins Gate. We already know who is on the right side, right? If not logically, then at least in terms of the outcome, right? So just a quick mention there. And also the part that I was trying to talk about Suzuha is, seeing Maho bring up Suzuha and her explaining Steins Gate actually reminded me of something, right? So, if I'm correct, the current Suzuha, right, in this timeline, the concept of Steins Gate still comes from the future Okabe, the future Okabe of this specific timeline, which means that if nothing changes, if they don't try to change the past again, the Okabe of this timeline will still eventually go back into wanting to pursue this in the end, right? He's still going to develop the concept of Steins Gate, and whether or not he actively supports it, that's another thing, but he is going to be the one who thought of it and who passed it on to Suzuha, right? So just in that one itself, you can already kind of say, but hey, you are going to change your mind in the future as well, right? You're still going to accept the concept of a Steins Gate timeline. So what are you doing here, being all negative about it, right? That's what I'm trying to bring up here. So that in itself is also kind of sort of a paradox in of itself. And yeah, that was what I was trying to bring up in regards to, but I wanted to concentrate on the character dialogues there. And then also, of course, ending with Mayuri, right? Her opinion is, I believe, the most important out of all the characters. If she's happy, Okabe's happy. If she's not, Okabe's probably not going to, be so stubborn about his current position as well. Now, the thing that I'm actually kind of curious about, and sort of like a what if question, is what if Mayuri never heard this conversation between Okabe and Daru and Maho, listening in on their conversation in regards to the entire circumstances of her death and of Karisu's death, right? If she never learned the truth about this, what would eventually happen to this timeline? Would they actually, I'm thinking that perhaps eventually Okabe and Mayuri just drift further and further away, as we've been seeing for these few episodes, and how Mayuri currently looks at Okabe. Perhaps he's just going to go eventually to overseas to study, and then they're going to just drift further and further and further apart, and they're going to be entirely split, right? That's also a possibility. So I am kind of curious what you guys think about this kind of situation, whether or not that would actually happen, right? And one final thing to mention here is, and that this is something that I'm kind of stumped upon, is, they made the reference to the legend of Orihime and Hikoboshi, right? Which is basically derived. Well, I shouldn't even say derived. It's basically the Chinese mythology or folktale, if you will, of Qixi, which is basically, in a sense, the Chinese Valentine's Day, right? So you got this, you got these two, I don't know how to even call them, supernatural entities or whatnot, who are lovers, and due to circumstances, they're only able to meet on one day in an entire year, right? And that would be Qixi, which is when they would both ride on a bridge of well, it's a bridge of something else, but in terms of the night sky, it's like on a bridge of stars, and then meet at the place, which is, I believe, now what is the third star? Because there's three stars, right? There's Vega, there's Altair, and then the third one, I forgot which star it was, but basically it's that mythology, right? I'm not go look it up if you guys want to. So the story is here. Now, what I'm struggling here is to figure out how that relates with what we saw on screen here, right? So Mayuri is already saying that she's not the Orihime for Okabe, right? She's not his lover. She's not able to become his lover. But why bring up this concept right here? This entire concept of only being able to meet one day in 1 year. Is she trying to bring up the fact that Kurisu being the lover or being the other side, the Orihime to Okabe, they are currently separated, and so they should work towards building the bridge so that they can see each other again. Is that what she's getting at? At least that's my interpretation of it for now, right? So, yeah. I just thought it was kind of curious why they would specifically bring up this as sort of the ending scene for this episode. I don't really think it makes a lot of sense contextually, especially if you understand the mythology as well. I mean, even after they meet each other for that one day, they're still going to immediately be separated again, and then you need to wait another year to see each other. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just... I don't have any clue. I'm assuming that the interpretation is that they're trying to build a bridge to meet each other. But do correct me if I'm wrong and you have some other ideas. So there we go. That's my review for episode 16 of Steins Gate 0. I said there's not much to say, but apparently I still talked for almost 10 minutes also. Sorry, guys. And yeah, let me know your thoughts, and also let me know if you guys would prefer me to keep the opening within the episode as well. So that's that. This is Maverick signing off. Bye-bye.